Marcus Sterling had built an empire in tech before turning 40. Now at 52, with silver threading through his dark hair and a reputation for being untouchable, he stood at the center of his annual charity gala, like a king surveying his court. The ballroom glittered with champagne flutes and designer gowns. Marcus loved these events, not for the charity, if he was honest, but for the power they represented. Everyone wanted his attention, his approval, his money. That night, his eyes landed on someone who didn't belong. Jake Patterson stood near the catering entrance in a worn denim shirt, clearly uncomfortable among the tuxedos. He was maybe 45, with kind eyes and callous hands that gripped a water glass like a lifeline. Marcus learned from his assistant that Jake was filling in for his sister, the regular caterer who had fallen ill. An idea sparked in Marcus's mind, the kind that had made him dangerous in boardrooms. He strode over to Jake with his usual confidence, snapping his fingers to gather a crowd. Within moments, 24 guests circled him, including Elena Rothschild, a stunning woman in her early 40s wearing an elegant white gown that caught the golden light. She was new money, a real estate developer who had made headlines recently. Marcus gestured grandly at Jake, his voice carrying across the marble floor. "Ladies and gentlemen, I've just learned something fascinating. Our friend here has some investment advice for us." Jake's face went pale. "Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm just here to help with the catering." "Nonsense," Marcus said, his smile sharp. "I insist. Share your wisdom with us. What should we invest in?" The crowd tittered with polite laughter. Elena stood at the front, her arms crossed, watching with an expression Marcus couldn't quite read. Jake looked at the faces surrounding him, then down at his hands. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but steady. "Well, if you really want to know, I'd say invest in time." The laughter grew louder. Marcus opened his mouth to deliver another cutting remark, but Jake continued. "I lost my wife 3 years ago to cancer. Left me with 2 daughters to raise on my own. Emma just turned 17. Sophie is 14. The laughter died instantly. For a while, I tried to keep working my old hours at the factory, picking up extra shifts to pay the medical bills we still had hanging over us. I thought providing meant money, you know? But Emma started having trouble in school. Sophie stopped talking at dinner. I was giving them everything except what they actually needed." Marcus felt something uncomfortable twist in his chest. He noticed Elena had moved closer, her expression now intent. "So I made a different kind of investment," Jake said. "I took a lower-paying job with better hours. Started coaching Sophie's soccer team, even though I don't know much about soccer. Learned to braid hair from YouTube videos, so Emma wouldn't have to figure out alone. We have pancake breakfast every Sunday, and nobody checks their phone." He looked directly at Marcus now, and there was no anger in his eyes, just a simple truth. The return on that investment? Last week, Emma got accepted to state with a partial scholarship. She wants to be a nurse like her mom. And Sophie told me I'm her hero, not because of what I bought them, but because I showed up. The silence in that circle was absolute. Jake set down his water glass carefully. "That's my advice. Invest in time with the people you love. The market can't crash on that one. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to check on the kitchen." He walked away with quiet dignity, leaving Marcus standing in front of 36 people who were no longer looking at him with admiration. Elena stepped forward, and Marcus braced himself for her judgment. Instead, she turned to address the crowd. "I think we just heard the most valuable advice of the evening. I'd like to pledge an additional $50,000 to the scholarship fund in Jake Patterson's name." The crowd erupted in applause. Marcus stood frozen, his carefully constructed moment of superiority shattered. As people dispersed, murmuring about Jake's words, Elena approached Marcus. Up close, he could see the wisdom in her eyes, the kind that came from real life rather than boardrooms. "You know," she said softly, "my father was like you, built a fortune, commanded every room he entered, died of a heart attack at his desk at 63. I was in Paris on business. Hadn't seen him in 4 months. We've been planning to have dinner the next week." She paused, her voice catching slightly. "I'd give every dollar I have for one more Sunday breakfast with him." Marcus watched her walk away, then found himself moving through the crowd, following the direction Jake had gone. He found him in the service corridor, helping an older woman carry a tray. "Mr. Patterson," Marcus said. Jake turned, wary. "I apologize," Marcus said, and the words felt foreign on his tongue. "That was cruel and unnecessary. You showed grace I didn't deserve." Jake studied him for a long moment. "We all have bad days, Mr. Sterling." "Marcus, please." He hesitated, then continued. "Your daughters are lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one," Jake said simply. "They saved me as much as I saved them." Walking back to the gala, Marcus pulled out his phone. His own daughter, Catherine, was away at Harvard. He'd talked to her maybe twice in the past month. Always brief conversations about grades and internships. He typed a message. "Are you free for breakfast on Sunday? I'll fly out to you." Her response came quickly. "Really?" "Yes." "I'd love that, Dad." 3 months later, Marcus stood in a different kind of circle. Emma's scholarship award ceremony at the community center. He quietly arranged for a full ride, using a trust that bore Jake's wife's name. Elena was there too. She started a foundation with Jake's help, focusing on supporting single parents. Marcus had become the largest donor, but more than that, he'd become involved, actually showing up to volunteer events. Emma gave a speech that had her father in tears. She spoke about loss and resilience, about a father who chose love over money, presence over prestige. Afterward, Marcus found Jake near the refreshment table. "Thank you," Jake said, "for what you did for Emma. You didn't have to." "I did, actually," Marcus replied. "You taught me something that night. I've been having Sunday breakfast with Catherine. She told me last week that she'd miss me." He paused, his voice rough with emotion. "I'd forgotten that someone could miss me. Not my money or my influence. Just me." Jake smiled. "It's a good investment, isn't it?" "The best I've ever made." As Marcus drove home that evening, he thought about the person he'd been 3 months ago, so certain of his worth, measured in deals closed and empires built. Jake had shown him a different kind of wealth, the kind that couldn't be traded or leveraged, only lived. His phone buzzed. "Catherine, can't wait for Sunday, Dad. Love you." Marcus pulled over, his vision blurring. When he last heard those words, he typed back with shaking hands. "Love you too, sweetheart. So much." The gala had been meant to showcase his power. Instead, it had revealed his poverty. But Jake Patterson, a man in a denim shirt who'd lost everything and rebuilt it with love, had offered him something priceless, a chance to invest in what actually mattered. And for the first time in decades, Marcus Sterling felt truly rich. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Leave a comment below about someone who changed your perspective on what really matters in life. Read Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.